that I talked about earlier. The assassination of Kerensky. Because Kerensky's assassinated at the start of the game, which is a major thing with Russia, because the guy who's essentially holding everything together is now dead. And that leaves a power vacuum that can be filled by a number of vying factions, and whoever fills it is completely up to the player. And it's one of the things that I like about Russia, that you can essentially take the country in whichever direction you like. And the one thing I don't like about Russia is to do with their available land doctrines if you take a certain government path. I'll discuss that more in detail later on. Anyways, back to the event. The assassination of Kerensky. The sound of gunfire rings across the capital. Alexander Kerensky, the president of the Russian Republic, was shot and killed by an assassin while he was climbing the steps to the Senate House. His killer was shot dead by the military police before he could make his escape. His motives will forever be unknown. Regardless, the fate of Russia has been irrevocably changed, for better or worse. Kerensky is no longer available. Our head of state changes to the Senate, and it will trigger the event aftermath of the assassination of Kerensky. A shot that will ring around the world. And in one day we will get the event to start to shape the way the government of Russia will take form. The aftermath of Kerensky's assassination. The assassination of our long-term president, Alexander Kerensky, has thrown the country into chaos. With the president gone, the governing coalition of cadets and right social revolutionaries has collapsed, and four forces look ready to seize control of the broken nation. Oh, and I'm only just noticing this. They've changed the name of one of the people. Before, the two military coup options were Baron Wrangel and Marshal Denikin, but Denikin's gone. Now it's Kornilov's officers seize the apparatus of state, rather than Denikin. Which is interesting. So we have four options. Our options are these ones. The left SR Mensheviks secure a majority in the Duma. Baron Wrangel declares martial law and dissolves the Duma. Kornilov's officers seize the apparatus of state. The Senate elects Grand Duke Dmitry as the new president. And I've already long since decided the path I'm going to take. And also, and I feel I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but it completely slipped my mind. Sorry about the mouse flickering. I have absolutely no idea what's going on, but it does this whenever I play the game at anything above 1024 by 768 resolution, which, by the way, looks hideous. So if anyone has any ideas on how I can address this without lowering the resolution, please let me know. I really do want to get it fixed. Anyways, the route we are going to go is that the Senate elects Grand Duke Dmitry as the new president. This will increase our descent by 10%. But this is the route that I've been planning on taking. You'll see why soon enough. Decision to purge the army has been unlocked. Boris Sturmer dies. One of the most experienced politicians in Russia, Boris Sturmer has passed away due to a heart attack upon hearing the news of Kerensky's death. Or assassination, even. Born in 1848, Sturmer was one of the few people in Russia to remember the Crimean War. He is a symbol of Russia's tradition and continuity. And now he has died. Memento mori. And just to sort of fill this in, to those of you who aren't aware of what the Crimean War is, it was a war triggered because at the time, the Ottoman Empire was known as the sick man of Europe. They were essentially collapsing at the time. They had barely any more than what's shown on the map right now, and they were seen as being on the verge of collapse as a state. So Russia decided they would take advantage of the Ottomans' weakness and seize some of their territory, including Constantinople, to give them access to the Dardanelles. As Russia at the time sent a lot of their trade through that region, and they wanted Constantinople, as everyone called it until the founding of Turkey. They wanted it so they could secure one of their important trade routes. But when they attacked, what ended up happening was Russia ended up at war with a lot of Western European countries. At least the British Empire and probably France. It might even have been Germany too, I don't exactly remember. But they ended up at war with a lot of them, and the major campaign involved in that was an amphibious landing on the Crimean Peninsula, which is why it's called the Crimean War, after where the major battle was fought, in the Crimean Peninsula. But, as we were, I guess, the Alash Autonomy selected declare full independence from Russia in Independence for Alash Autonomy, which is what the event I talked about. They always, as far as I know, declare independence. Alash Autonomous Region declares independence. And god damn it, I'm bumping the microphone again. Sorry about that. Alash Autonomous Region declares independence. Terrible news! Our autonomous region of Alash Orda has decided to use the political chaos in Russia following the assassination of Kerensky to sever almost all ties with Russia and declare independence. While many hotheads in the general staff are demanding immediate action, the ongoing chaos prevents us from responding to this treachery. It seems that we must let the Alash Order be. For now. Relations with the Alash Order are changed by -80 and national dissent is increased by 1%. Fucking Alash Order! I hate you. And a bunch of trade deal events between Poland and the Austrian Empire, which is a bunch of puppets and stuff. When I say a bunch of puppets, I also mean this, because Hungary is a puppet of Austria, and they also control Croatia as a puppet. So they're a puppet that themselves has a puppet, which is quite interesting, I have to say. The Alash Order has now declared full independence, and much as many people in the Russian armed forces would like to immediately invade them, and to use a phrase that a friend of mine introduced me to once, make them our bitch, we're unfortunately going to have to wait a bit. Because we don't really have the capacity to go to war with them right now. So we're gonna have to be patient. And wait until Russia is in fighting shape again. Bukharin hails totalism as the way forward. The Bolshevik politician Nikolai Bukharin has praised his comrades overseas for their adoption of Bolshevik doctrine into the new and rapidly gaining support system of totalitarian socialism, or totalism. Totalism combines Bolshevik ideas of state-controlled economics with broader ideas about the total involvement of the state in the running of the country, and is perceived by many to be a highly potent and dangerous force. National dissent is changed by +1%! Fuck! Interesting to say the least. Fuck you, Bukharin. Fuck you. Yeah, Nikolai Bukharin is one of the few remaining Russian communists after Germany intervened in the Russian Civil War, or to help out the whites. And for the lack of a better phrase, he is currently on my shit list. For one thing, he is raising my dissent and appointing a prime minister. The remnants of Russia's nobility emerged from the turmoil of the Civil War with much of their wealth intact. Still controlling large portions of the economy, the aristocrats dominated the Senate, the theoretically powerless upper house. They have now taken advantage of the body's nominal authority to name the president and have selected Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich Romanov for the position. It is unclear who is the true instigator. Yes, I have decided to make a Romanov the president of Russia. And those of you who are familiar with the Kaiserreich events will probably have a damn good idea of what government path I'm going down now. But now, we have to pick our prime minister. However, I will say this, we're not going to pick the clericals. If you're wondering why I'm steering clear of the clericals, there's one very simple reason for that. If you pick the clericals, there is a chance that an event will pop up where the head of the church is essentially demanding that you give the church more power, and depending on what option you pick, well, you will basically be forced into being the church's butt boy, for lack of a better phrase, because all of the decisions in that event give you a ridiculous amount of dissent, and I have no interest in being the church's bitch. So we're going to steer clear of that option. But I know who's responsible. The reactionary landowners led by Vladimir Porshkevich. I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce Russian names, so there's no way I was gonna get that right. So I had to stop for a second to try. Reorganization of the internal police. Which will require us to have at least 2,000 supplies. Not entirely sure if I'm going to do that, because using some foreknowledge in the not too distant future, we're going to get an event which will let me decide what type of army doctrine I want to have. But that requires 2,000 as well. And oh fucking hell, this event. I hate this fucking event. Payment of the Brest-Litovsk reparations. Despite massive protests from our citizens, the harsh austerity measures enacted in November 1935 have allowed us to amass sufficient cash to repay the remaining parts of the war reparations imposed upon us by the victorious Germans at the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk. Take that damned money, you fucking Germans, and stab yourselves while you're at it. Yeah, take your fucking money. I hope you choke to death on it. National dissent is increased by 8%. I hate you, Germany. I really do. And I hope you suffer. The remilitarization of Oltenia just triggered. And this is an interesting event. It's very similar in a ways, actually, to the remilitarization of the Rhineland in real life. Except it's Romania that gets it. Because we have Iron Guard Romania over here, who's basically fascist Romania, and Oltenia is a region of their country that was demilitarized in the peace treaty. So they can't station troops there, and in addition to that, Germany has a deal where they have exclusive rights to the Ploesti oil fields. That's basically all that's going on between Romania and Germany, as far as I'm aware. At least unless the Romanian monarchists decide to rebel, which can make things interesting. Let's see, we got some interesting looking events here. Actually, that doesn't matter, that doesn't matter. And Persian constitutionalist movement, I don't know what it is. And Afghanistan has an event here. The time is ripe, let us repeat the victory of 1926. In the Indian crisis of succession, Afghanistan declared war upon Delhi. What's going on there, basically, is in 1926, in the Kaiserreich universe, Afghanistan and Delhi had a war. Afghanistan took a couple of territories off of Delhi, which Delhi is basically the remnant of the British East India Company, by the way. Yeah, Afghanistan took a couple of territories off of them, and now Delhi is having a crisis of succession, basically, so the Afghans think they can do it again and take some more territory. My hopes aren't high. In fact, if I had to guess at what's going to happen, I would say it's fairly likely that Afghanistan will get completely curb-stomped and annexed. In fact, what usually happens in this scenario, and I don't see it changing, is Delhi will either annex Afghanistan and install a guy they support as a puppet king, making Afghanistan Delhi's puppet, or they'll just take the territories in question that they want back and fuck off. Either could happen, honestly. Black Monday. Oh dear. I'll get into that once it hits us. If it doesn't, then hooray, but I don't think we'll be that lucky. Dmitry Romanov assumes power. After the death of Kerensky, the Winter Palace in St. Petersburg wasn't vacant for long. Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich Romanov, with the help of the old aristocracy and the new financial elite, controls the biggest country in the world, as his royal ancestors did before the revolution. Playing the role of the good Tsar for the peasantry, Dmitry Pavlovich guarantees that the new elite will save the property and money of the farmers, as in 1916 when he killed Rasputin, and the Grand Duke is ready to act decisively in the name of Russian interests. His appeal to restore Russian glory and might is widely supported by the various layers of the nation. The people await his first actions. This Romanov really can charm. National dissent changed by -4%. Excellent. We need every reduction in dissent we can get. And this is another thing I should have mentioned. All the characters people you're seeing in Kaiserreich, they are real individuals in our history. It's just that they have their roles in history are different, and they're doing different things because a different set of events have taken place, and those things are different. Black Monday has hit the Austro-Hungarian Empire, so it's not far from us, I'm afraid. Reorganization of the internal police. We will God, I bumped my mic again. We will reintroduce the Okhrana, I think, but I am actually going to read this. With revolutionary movements active throughout Russia, some members of the Duma are suggesting that it is time for a complete reorganization of the internal police on the basis of the old Tsarist secret police, Okhrana, to maintain law and order in Russia. This organization will hunt down any radical revolutionary elements and re-educate them to respect the Russian state. Gotta love the air quotations in use there, as I was actually making air quotations myself when they were saying re-educate. Not that you could see that, of course. National descent, minus 2%. Off-map IC, +1, and a few changes to our domestic policies. Mostly ones I like, though. But we become a little more belligerent. But I'm okay with that, actually. As chances are, we're going to be invading a lot of people, so may as well get on it quickly. And what was that? Oh. The Romanians have nationalized the oil fields, so the German exclusive rights to Plosti thing no longer applies since it's been nationalized. And we're about to get Black Monday, it looks like. Because it's hitting our neighbors. Ivan Pavlov dies. Ivan Petrovich Pavlov, the widely known Russian physiologist, died today at 86 in St. Petersburg. He received the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 1904 for his research on the digestive system, and he is most known for his works on classical conditioning. The Russian president expressed sadness and announced that his laboratory would soon become a museum. Let's hope that classical conditioning works on humans. National descent is changed by +1%. Fuck! Black Monday hits Russia. Yeah, now this is a big event because Black Monday is essentially the Kaiserreich equivalent of the Great Depression, except that it's worse than the Great Depression, if you can believe it. So, almost 3 weeks ago, the Berlin Stock Exchange plunged into a bottomless depth, throwing Germany's economy into an unprecedented crisis. Now the crash's shockwaves have reached Russia. German and Bohemian-owned companies have closed down or laid off their workers. The Russian ruble is losing value and resource exports are shrinking. Peacetime IC modifier changed by -15%. Money -50, and national descent is changed by +5%. Fuck! So, Russia is in a bad place right now. I'm trying to avoid issuing currency if I can. And let's see here. Delhi and Afghanistan have made peace now, it looks like. Return to status quo, and they've made the third treaty of whatever the hell that name is, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, and reclaimed their lost territories. So they didn't annex Afghanistan and install a puppet king. But they did take their stuff back. And Middle Africa has declared war on Portugal. Let's see if I can find the events in our log here that caused this. Where is it? Fate of the Portuguese colonies. See, there's an event Middle Africa can get where they decide they want to take Portugal's colonies in Africa. They decided to run it by Germany first, just to be sure. Germany gave them the green light. Portugal went with, we've said it hundreds of times, we'll say it again, no, in Middle Africa presses for negotiations. Middle Africa went with what they won't give, will take to war in the Portuguese refused to come to the table. Middle Africa declared war on Portugal. So that's what happened. They were trying to get Portugal to negotiate to hand over these colonies in Africa here. But Portugal refused, so they went with war to take it from them. We'll see. I'm wondering if there's an event that actually will cause Portugal to hand over the colonies once they're occupied, rather than keeping on fighting endlessly. Interesting. But we have a general strike now. Workers' organizations all over Russia have reached an agreement and decided to call for a general strike. Even though the response to their initiative has been rather limited so far, it is very possible that more and more workers still will join the strike should the situation continue to deteriorate. National dissent is changed by +3% and industrial efficiency -15%. Stockpile of supplies changed by -15% of daily max income. God damn it, workers, stop striking and do your damn jobs. Money for the motherland. When Dmitry Romanov strengthened his position as a member of the former royal family, he could launch a populist program called Money for the Motherland because he sold some of his estates and some lands of the other Grand Dukes which he had returned anyhow to the state possession before. This populist step helped to gain his reputation of the good Tsar who cares for his nation. And we lose a bit of dissent and money +150. I can and will do everything for my people. And we're calling ourselves the Tsar already, even though we haven't decided on the government form yet. Though that should already give you an indication of what I'm planning on doing. Because, yes, my plan for the government in this Let's Play is actually going to be that I am going to restore the Russian Empire and establish the dynasty, the Romanov dynasty again. And this is interesting. Afghanistan went with the king can do as he likes, suppress any rebellion in domestic reaction to Afghan defeat, because there's basically two options you can get with that, where Afghanistan loses that war, and I see they have some partisans there now, all over the damn place as a matter of fact. But yeah, the other option they can get is that the king of Afghanistan is overthrown and replaced by someone that's, well, better, for lack of a better phrase. That's the other option that could happen. The Princely Federation, that's this faction down here in India. They have just seized Goa, which is